Pelosi ripping up the speech, I found it really interesting how the media were praising her and saying, oh my God, she's a badass. Oh, she was showing him because there was nothing in there but lies. No, she was ripping up the successes of our army, the successes of black people, the successes of women, the successes of our country.
Guys, welcome to another edition of the MAGA Media Podcast. I'm here with Rob Harper, as always. How you doing today, Rob?
I'm doing just fine. How are you, Andy?
Doing great. Last week, we also seen Nancy Pelosi rip up the State of the Union address, and it seems like it's almost caused a ripple effect. Earlier today, I was reading about how Susan Collins is getting death threats for her vote. We just seen Trump's people registering voters in Florida, their tent was smashed with a van from an unhinged leftist.
Right.
It seems like it's the old Maxine Waters get in their face that just seems more and more unhinged. Nancy Pelosi is the leader of all of this.
Right. And what is the liberal media saying about the guy who smashed his van into Trump supporters that were registering to vote? Nothing. It's almost as if though they're complicit with his actions. Had the tables been turned, they would be talking about it right now. This is because of Donald Trump. This is because of Donald Trump. No one is saying that guy smashed his van into those Trump supporters because of Maxine Waters, the vitriolic coming from her mouth, Jerry Nadler, the lies that he's telling, Adam Schiff, and Nancy Pelosi. They're all responsible for this, just like they're responsible for the senator who was shot during the baseball game. No one wants to say they want to say nothing about it. But it's like, this guy was shot, that senator was shot because of your doings. It's like, come on, because of what was coming out of your mouth. And then Nancy Pelosi ripping up the speech, I found it really interesting how the media were praising her and saying, oh my God, she's a badass. Oh, she was showing him because there was nothing in there but lies. No, she was ripping up the successes of our army, the successes of black people, the successes of women, the successes of our country. And now, full circle, she's going out to Facebook and Twitter, social media, and demanding that they remove the clip. She reached out to this guy, Andy Stone. She had one of her operatives to say, oh, this is like another doctored video by the president. And the guy responded, really? So you're saying that didn't happen? We have it on tape. Everyone was watching. Nancy ripped up the speech. Granted, it was her own copy. Granted, nothing illegal about it because it was her own copy. She didn't rip up an official document, but still her actions to do that. I mean, and she did it with such contempt. She knew the cameras were on her. She should come out and apologize. As Jonathan Turley said, she should apologize or resign. Where is the liberal media? Had Paul Ryan done the same thing when Barack Obama gave his speech, I mean, we would still be talking about it. He's a racist. How dare he? All Republicans are racist. Your actions have consequences, and Nancy Pelosi should be held accountable. And because the media won't do it, can't do it, are afraid to do it because they're in bed with her, I say to our patriots, in November, let's go to the polls and vote them all out.
Absolutely. We posted a really great video clip from C-SPAN of Democratic voters after the State of the Union that were just furious with Nancy Pelosi and thought her ripping up the State of the Union was a complete embarrassment.
Absolutely.
So she did not do herself any favors, or the Democrats running for president any favors with her behavior. It just made the Democrats look lowbrow and desperate. But speaking of them running for president, we've got the New Hampshire primaries tomorrow. Coming out of Iowa, we think Mayor Pete slightly won. I think the results are finally official out of Iowa here a week later. Sounds like Mayor Pete won with Bernie coming in at number 2.
Right.
So far, Bernie's polling at 30% in New Hampshire, and Mayor Pete around 22%, and Amy Klobuchar and Elizabeth Warren are actually both polling ahead of Joe Biden at this point. Do you think this is New Hampshire is desperation yet for Joe Biden? If he falls outside of the top 4 in 2 states in a row, that cannot be good for him.
Well, no, it's not good. And just a couple of things for Iowa. And what separates Pete and Sanders is like probably a 0.5%, if that. I do believe that Bernie probably came ahead of him, but of course the Democrats, as they always do, try to doctor records and whatnot and change things up. But this is indicative as to what will happen in November, so we've got to keep our eyes on it, because do not doubt that come November, they're going to screw up the elections. They're going to find votes that were in someone's truck, find votes that was in someone's grandmother's closet. I mean, this is typical of Democrats. They will find votes wherever they can, and then they will say, oh, by the way, we found some more votes, so we've got to count these votes also. Now, going into New Hampshire and Joe Biden. Joe Biden was just heard the other day calling a woman, I think, a dog-faced pony soldier. And Democrats say, oh, this is why we like Joe Biden, because he's so authentic. Like, are you serious? Calling a potential voter a dog-faced pony soldier? And not only that, he got into an argument with another journalist as to what she was saying if he didn't win in Iowa. Joe is a lost cause. And that is the reason why Obama has not come out and said anything to help his friend out. He's a lost cause. The other day, I think it was Saturday, Joe came out saying that he has a speech impediment. He stutters. Now, I don't know if he does, he doesn't, but I've heard him in a lot of different speeches in his younger days. And to me, he was pretty straightforward and articulate. Well, maybe as he has aged, dementia has settled in, and maybe that's the reason why this certain stuttering has presented itself. Now, again, maybe he's a stutterer, maybe he isn't, I don't know. But to use that as an excuse for all of the mishaps that he's had in his speeches is ridiculous. Because if he's so afraid of his speech impediment, then how can he be the president? So his low showing in Iowa is pretty much an indication that people feel that he's old, he's out of touch, and they don't want another old, grumpy, confused white man leading the party.
Right.
So with him saying all this stuff, well, you know, now he's trying to brush off New Hampshire. Oh, I don't know about New Hampshire. Wait until South Carolina, because in South Carolina, of course, he will get, so he thinks, a majority of the black vote. Maybe that will happen. But I would say to voters, look at how he's brushing off Iowa. Look at how he's brushing off New Hampshire. He's pretty much telling you that he could care less about you. So if he doesn't care about your votes during the primary, do you actually think he's going to care about you and your home if he becomes president? He's just going to brush you off and placate to those big states like New York and California, the larger liberal states. He's going to placate to them because he feels that, hey, they'll get me where I need to go. And not only that, let's throw in Bloomberg as well, who has completely dismissed Iowa, completely dismissed New Hampshire, and he's waiting for Super Tuesday because he feels that, hey, I've spent a lot of money. I'm paying for influencers. I'm paying for people to say they like me. What does that translate into? He's paying for votes. So again, the Democrats are really savvy, and you have to look at what they're doing and what they're saying. Pretty much, they're writing your votes off. They could care less about your votes. They only want their votes. They only want the votes that's going to help them get over the hump. Once they have the vote, everyone else be damned.
Right. Joe Biden's main argument was that he was the most electable of any of the candidates. I think he's benefited from the old former vice president push. Generally, former vice presidents do pretty well in presidential campaigns. So, but I think that's all disappearing now that he's not even finishing in the top 3 for electability. It's how are you supposed to be the most electable when you can't even finish in the top 4 of the Democratic?
That is a good point. How can you be electable if you can't finish, within the top 4? I mean, this guy's at the bottom of the totem pole. And again, it is so interesting how the media, they're so careful as to how they present this. No, they do push back on him on some things, but the way they should go full throttle and just say, Joe, isn't it time that you just call it a wrap and just exit stage left? Why won't they just tell him that? Because there's a certain fear that if Bernie gets it, it's going to be over because no one is going to vote for socialism. You have James Carville coming out against Bernie Sanders, saying we can't reinvent the wheel. It's like, folks, wake up. This is fairy tale land. You have Obama secretly sending out operatives saying the exact same thing. So therein lies Bloomberg. And the only reason why the Dems will look at Bloomberg because they don't like him, But the only reason why they would look to him is because he has a lot of money, and they need money. They need money so that he can run ads all over, as deceptive as they may be, lying about what he will do and what he can do. The guy won't even come out and campaign. He's afraid. It's like, I really want the voters to wake up and see what's happening. You have one man who they tried to kick out of office because what did he want to do? Make America great again. Turn the economy around. And the economy has been turned around. Look at the job numbers. So you have them wanting to get rid of him. And it's interesting how they say, oh, the economy is so bad. There are so many people that aren't working. I'm like, what economy are they talking about? Some third world country? I'm sorry. We're beyond that. We're not in Mexico either, trying to let the illegal immigrants come in. So it's just astonishing at the narratives that the fake news media is pushing, that the economy is bad, when you saw Friday's job numbers were unbelievable. Look at the stock market. It's unbelievable. What possibly can Bloomberg do besides tear it all up, rip it to shreds, like Nancy Pelosi ripped to shreds the State of the Union speech? It's unbelievable.
One more question on New Hampshire before we move on. If it ends up being Bernie and Pete in the top two again, like the polls are indicating, do you think it's a two-person race, or do you think Bloomberg is still going to be at play and it's actually a three-person race here?
I think Bloomberg's still at play. I think that, and I could be wrong, and I hope that I'm not wrong, but I think Buttigieg will plateau after New Hampshire. When he goes into the other states, he doesn't have the black vote. And if he does show a showing with the black vote, we know that it's deceptive. We know that someone cheated. Mm-hmm. Blacks cannot identify with him, and he can't identify with blacks. Look at South Bend, Indiana. It's a complete disaster there. So how is it that this guy is being pushed out? Well, I'll tell you how. It's money. He run all these ads saying that, oh, I'm Mr. Pollyanna, and I can do this and I can do that. And people not doing their research, falling in love with an ad, allowing their emotions and not their pocketbooks to vote for them. It's like, people, wake up. This guy is dangerous. The only thing he wants is bragging rights to say, okay, I was the first gay person to be nominated in a two-party system. And then if he becomes president, which I doubt seriously, I was the first gay president. I'm not into this first this or first that. I want the most accomplished person, the most qualified individual to be president, to lead the free world. Not this old hokey pokey stuff. That's just a distraction. So no, if he wins New Hampshire, or if he comes in second place, I think that'll be it for him. Because as he progresses to the other states, no one knows him. And the people that do know him, they don't like him. Now, Amy could possibly be a contender. They're writing off Elizabeth Warren. I think it was over before it started for her. I think she was a bunch of hype. But I do see, what's his name, Bernie Sanders probably inking this out. Now, go back to what you're saying about Bloomberg. If Bloomberg does manage to have a showing in Super Tuesdays, it's all because he bought the elections. And I don't think people literally voted for him just to vote for him. I think he might have said, if you vote for me, I'll give you a free pizza. If you vote for me, I'll give you $100. That's how Bloomberg operates. He will give to causes just to get people to do what he wants to do. And people need to be aware of this. This is the way the man is. And you would think the media would call this out, but they won't, because of course his company, Bloomberg, which is a media company, they won't report anything negative on him. CNN certainly isn't going to do it. So who are we left with? Fox News? Fox needs to jump on board and start calling this guy out. A lot of times I think the media wants to see these matchups between these different people, and they want them to fight, as opposed to looking at what's good for the country.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I think if Bloomberg ended up being the nomination, I think it would be safe to say no one has ever worked less to become the Democrat presidential nominee. I mean, like you said, this guy took Iowa off. He's taken New Hampshire off.
Yeah.
He's not even really doing rallies. He's just, his whole appeal is on spending hundreds of millions of dollars of his own money on commercials.
Bingo. Right. And like you said, he's not even doing rallies. He's not even meeting the people, because if they were to show him at a rally or at a meet and greet, there would probably only be 10 people. So of course the media wants to hide that. They don't want to talk about it. Look at New Hampshire. Look at the people that are outside right now waiting for Donald Trump to give his rally. It's phenomenal. But yet and still the media is saying no one likes him. He's not being supported. He's at 49% approval rating. And I think that if he stays tempered the way he is, that number will increase. But be assured that the media is going to throw everything out at him. Well, women have got to remember that, he doesn't like women. He's a misogynist and he's a that. Whereas, what is Bloomberg? Bloomberg wanted to fire a woman because she was pregnant, or women because they were pregnant. So he's buying the election. He's giving everyone a lollipop and saying, hey, here's your lollipop. Now vote for me. And then they will stand there to make certain that they vote for Bloomberg. Whereas he has dismissed a huge population of voters because they're irrelevant as far as he's concerned. He's going to buy everything else. It's like, folks, wake up. Look at what these people are doing. And that is a form of socialism, what he's doing. I'm going to buy the vote and then do what I want to do. It doesn't work that way, folks. This is a democracy. And you need to wake up and be aware as to what's happening.